Welcome. I'm Kinetic Symphony. I hunt down and report on weird and true mysterious stories, from glitches to the paranormal. Case file number 1624, written by Verum Seeker, The Strange Glitchy Brew. This happened on one of the first days of January of this year. It might not be impressive or the typical type of mystery, but to this day I keep thinking about it. I'm still baffled. My two friends and I had met to hang out in the evening. It was a Friday, but there weren't too many people around since Christmas. Here in Spain, it lasts until January 7th. Had just finished recently. We were at a table outside of a cafe and cocktail bar, having some beers. It's important to mention that we were not already drunk. We are three young, tall, fit men accustomed to drinking regularly, which means we have a high tolerance for alcohol. Also, I'd like to mention that one of my friends is a policeman. My other friend is an engineering student. Well, I'm already an engineer. We bought 4 bottles of beer. All the bottles were of the same brand, Aguila, which has a unique blue label attached to it. The table was round and we were properly distributed around it, forming the vertices of an equilateral triangle. That means that each of us watched the other two at all times, as so was any person that could pass behind. We were joking and laughing and almost finishing the second bottle, while suddenly my fellow engineer friend stopped laughing and interrupted to say with a mystified expression, "What is that beer doing here?" When I heard it, I couldn't make any sense of it, but when I realized what he meant, I stopped laughing very quickly as well. One of the small bottles was no longer a Blue Aguila beer, but an Estrella Galicia beer, red and black label colors. It was also of the same size. Now it's time to state a few things. You could say that the three of us got confused, and that not all of the beers were of the Blue Label brand. I would respect that thinking, as I would probably think the same thing too if I were you. But not only are my other two friends and I 100% sure, but also the offer we bought was an Aguila offer. I personally split the 4th bottle of Blue Aguila among the 3 of us. As I stated earlier, we are young boys, we never take drugs. We are mentally and physically healthy, and we have never experienced anything paranormal before. There were 3 tables around us, separated by approximately 1 to 1.5 meters from us. Only one person came behind one of us, and me and my other friend saw her moving all the time, without having a beer and as much less doing anything suspicious. The idea of a person approaching our table, taking one of our empty bottles, then replacing it with another different empty bottle is just preposterous. I thought that maybe one of my friends might have done a trick to mock us, but we never look away from the table and each other, at least I didn't. We went serious soon. We were afraid of having drunk something poisoned with some kind of drug. We were thinking about how to properly investigate what the hell just happened, when a random mad old woman came from inside, yelling at us and ordering us to leave. Apparently, she was the owner of the bar next to the one we bought the beers from, and she passed out because we were sitting at a table that was far from her place. We didn't notice since at this spot there were many bars very close to each other, and tables were almost the same. We joked about it because it felt like an NPC was forced to spawn to divert our conversation and spoil our attempt to investigate any further. Honestly, I can't really tell what happened, and up to this day, we keep talking about it. I decided to write about this after something even creepier happened to me yesterday, but this time I told no one about it since I feel like I won't be believed, and I'll start to lose respect or credibility. I can't blame nobody though, since I'm also a skeptical bastard that would also think I'm either crazy or lying for attention. But the world is just weirder than I thought. Case file 1624. The Strange Glitchy Brew. Yeah, classic multiverse switcheroo. The beers that you ordered in a different universe adjacent parallel to this one were just different in one bottle. Maybe all of them, and just one of them ported over, switched around. The one you had here went over there, and they were having the same discussion. What is this Aguila doing here? It's not what we ordered. It is an interesting hypothesis though, about the NPC being spawned in to distract you guys from it, from the anomaly. And if you think about it, if we live in a simulation, it's more than powerful enough to conjure up an NPC facsimile that would be hard to distinguish from someone that has a real soul, a real player. In this case, we are light years ahead of the Turing test. And you could sort of think of it like a dungeon master's toolkit, where he just introduces a character like a thief to distract you. And unless you roll a nat 20, you're not going to see through it. Case file 1625, written by DONTTELLMEshowme. A Midwest nightmare of Japan's Tremor. I swear to God I was in Japan when the big earthquake happened near Sendai. Except I live in the American Midwest and I've never been to Japan, so here goes. I don't remember much about it anymore. At the time I was sick with a chronic migraine condition. I had to quit school and work and I was really depressed. I went to my grandparents' house for a few days to just get away, decompress, and get out of my goddamn house for a while. The night before the quake, I went into a really deep sleep and eventually got to dreaming. I knew I was in Japan, though I'd never been there and had no reason to be there. I was in a natural setting, not a city, and I remember various forms of wildlife freaking out, acting erratically, birds flying in circles, rodents scurrying in a directionless manner, etc. I was with someone I had never met. I don't remember anything about them, except that I knew that I was supposed to know them, but I didn't. The ground underneath me started to tremble, and then I've never experienced an earthquake, but it was beyond anything I could ever imagine an earthquake to be. And the freaking sun, man, that is what I really remember. Try to imagine what the sun sounds like. Now imagine that sound right next to you, almost as if the sound is what's making the ground fall apart underneath you. I remember looking at the sun and thinking, holy hell, the sun is about to split open. It's about to vibrate out of the sky and just freaking split open. A literal wave of blackness came over me and I woke up in a cold sweat, head pounding. Though that was nothing new. I stayed in bed for a while, trying to remember and process what the frick had just happened to me, and then went upstairs for breakfast, though by then it was almost time for lunch. I went upstairs and my grandparents were watching the awful tsunami footage. I felt violently ill, more so than usual, and didn't dare tell them why. It was extremely upsetting. Hey, I have a Patreon. If you want even more content, go check it out. Link is in the description. Now onto the notes. Case on file 1625. A Midwest Nightmare of Japan's Tremor. So this is an interpretation of future events by your subconscious. And it was a great ordeal for your subconscious to translate this information about a tsunami in Japan to your conscious mind. Well, as conscious as we are when we're dreaming, that's when space-time is more fluid, you could say, especially the time component. When we're dreaming, the knowledge is there and it's more easily accessible. But even if you have data, it has to be decoded and understood. And some brains are just better at doing it than others. That's my understanding so far. And you see the exaggeration by your subconscious in the sun splitting aspect. Yeah, the sun didn't split, but it felt like it did for everyone there. Terrifying. Now time for the quote of the day. There are few things so pleasant as a picnic eaten in perfect comfort. W. Somerset Maugham. You know, I agree fully with this, but it's a question I have now, thinking about it. I go for walks in the park all the time. I never see anyone having a picnic. I see people eating at the park benches that they have, the picnic tables. But no one ever having the full kit, going into the grass with a nice blanket and the wicker basket full of sandwiches and snacks and the accoutrement and the charcuterie board and all that good stuff. No, it's always at a picnic table now. It seems more sterile, if you know what I mean. Do you ever see anyone eating a full picnic setup? I need to do that again. Like the video, subscribe, hit the bell. Kinetic Symphony signing off.